everything to the High Daimyo, Fire Lord, should I be granted an audience. And an audience you shall receive. Stated low. The Fire Lord will have no problem speaking to a man of your caliber, added Lee. Naruto nodded in thanks before he moved to stand next to Mai. Those two scare me, he commented with a slight shudder. Mai smirked and replied, wow, and here I thought nothing could get to you. I may be a hero and the last shinobi on this earth, but I'm not invincible. There are still some things that bother me and unnerve me. And those two are one of those things. Mai gave a small laugh at that. Well, don't worry so much about it. They could get to anyone without even trying. A few hours later, mainland. Once the group reached the port of the mainland, they disembarked and walked through the streets to the Fire Lord's palace. Well, Mai, Tai Li, and Naruto walked while Zuko and Azula rode in palanquins. Many people stared at Naruto in wonder, and he was slowly getting uncomfortable by it. He was about to snap before a small child walked up to him with an innocent smile on her face. She held up her hand and offered him a yellow flower that matched his sun-kissed hair. Taking the flower with a smile, Naruto decided to return the gesture and focus chakra into a seal hidden on his left pinky. From the seal, a small figurine of a fox appeared and he handed it to her. The child looked at him in awe before smiling brightly and taking the figurine with a polite thank you. Naruto had a melancholic smile as he watched the child run off to show her friends her gift. That figurine came from Inari's daughter, Tamaki, while he was Uzukage. It was meant as a gift for his 10th year as leader of Yuzu, and he happily accepted it. After the second destruction of Yuzu, he kept it safe in hopes of finding someone to pass it on to. That girl who gave him the flower reminded him so much of Tamaki that giving her the figurine felt right. Seeing her bright smile and her friends' amazed stares furthered the feeling. He then noticed that he was about to be left behind by the escorts, so he used Henge to transform into a raven and fly after them, leaving the adults in shock and the children in amazement at the display. The raven Naruto landed on Mai's shoulder, slightly startling her, and said sarcastically, "Thanks for waiting." Mai shook off her surprise at the transformed blonde and replied, "Next time you should keep up." Well, excuse me for being nice to that little girl. It's not my fault she offered me this flower, he defended while presenting the flower in his talon. I was merely returning the gesture. Mai shrugged, slightly shaking Naruto off balance and said, "Whatever you say, bird boy." Once the group made it to the palace, Naruto transformed back into his true form and followed them inside. The palace itself was incredibly elegant and regal, so much so that Naruto felt out of place in it. The palace was comprised of enormous halls and retained an intricate array of wings and chambers. Large tapestries lined the walls with their beauty. Naruto also saw elaborate fire-themed images and moldings laid out all throughout the numerous sections of the structure. Once they reached the door to the throne room, Naruto was surprised that Lo and Lee were already waiting for them. "Lord Ozai is expecting you all," they stated simultaneously before leading them to the throne room doors. Opening the doors, Lo and Lee allowed them to enter before closing the doors behind them. The throne room had many black pillars with elaborate gold bases that supported the roof, and had black tiled floors, all designed to reflect the firelight. The Fire Lord sat on an ornate covered throne on a higher platform that was surrounded by a wall of fire. Adorning the wall behind him was an enormous bas-relief image of a dragon breathing fire. The children all dropped to one knee with their heads bowed in respect while Naruto stayed standing with his arms crossed. Azula scowled at the utter disrespect the blonde showed her father, while the others were worried about the consequences of his actions. Ozai narrowed his own eyes at the blonde and saw his single blue eye staring straight into his own amber ones, as if he was seeing right through him. It unnerved, angered, and intrigued him all at once at how easily the man held himself in Ozai's presence. "Tell me, boy, why do you not show me the respect I deserve in my own throne room?" asked Ozai in a calm voice that hid his irritation. Naruto merely leaned on one of the pillars while keeping his gaze on the man. "In my eyes, respect is earned and I have not seen a reason to give it to you." "You dare insult me in my own home?" questioned Ozai while the wall of flames grew in size. Naruto scoffed before waving his hand and using futon chakra to remove the oxygen from the flames, shocking the people in the room. Do not hold the notion that you can intimidate me, Ozai, son of Azulon. Azulon. You know not what I'm capable of, and how easily I can do away with you. Ozai and Azula scowled at him, while the rest looked at him in shock. You do not seem to know your place, boy. No. It is you who doesn't know your place, child. You're thousands of years too young to even be a challenge for me, Naruto retorted. I'm sure Lo and Lee informed you of my identity, as I'm also sure you know of the legends behind my name. I fail to see such a man in front of me. All I see is a disrespectful child attempting to intimidate me. Are you sure you aren't confusing me with yourself? Asked Naruto from behind the Fire Lord. The others turned to see him leaning on the dragon-themed wall before turning to see the Naruto leaning on the pillar fade from view. Such speed. He could have easily killed me without me noticing, though Ozai as a bead of sweat fell from his brow. Naruto calmly walked back to the teens and stood in front of them. In case you need further proof, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko, Child of Prophecy, Sannin of the Gama clan, Sandaime Yuzukage of Yuzushi Ogakure, and the Hero of the Flame. The list of titles confused the others due to the lack of understanding of the old language. Ozai, however, having studied the history of the Fire Nation in depth, had some knowledge of the language and he was able to decipher what they meant. So, he's the human sacrifice of the nine-tailed fox, sage of the Toad clan, and the third world shadow of the Whirling Tides village. Not many people know of those titles for this man. But I'm still not entirely convinced. Ozai stared at the blonde in front of him, and laced his fingers in front of him. You claim you are the revered hero, however, I would like to see you prove your claim. Oh, and how would you like me to prove myself to you? A simple test really. Legends say of your many abilities and powers, I want to see you prove that these legends are true. Naruto crossed his arms in front of him, and gave Ozai a blank stare. I assume you're looking for specific abilities during this test of yours? Indeed. Indeed. You will need to show your affiliation with the Toads, your mastery of the elements you wield, and your legacy. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the word legacy. I hope you realize that if I use that particular power, whoever you have watching these tests will either be dead, dying, or driven mad. I do, however, the proof is needed to stake your claim as being our revered hero. Naruto kept his blank stare while retorting, I could just end you in the blink of an eye and be done with it. However, doing so will do nothing more than cause the people to fear me and scorn me, two things I've had plenty of to last many lifetimes. So, do we have a deal? Ozai asked with a smirk. Naruto gave a slow nod before turning to leave the throne room. Have someone escort me to the designated area when you are prepared, he stated on his way out. Ozai kept his smirk before turning to the teens and dismissing them. All but Azula left and Ozai asked, What do you make of him, Azula? The girl closed her eyes in thought while answering, He's definitely powerful, and incredibly intimidating. I couldn't even meet his gaze for more than 5 seconds. What of the claims he makes? Do you believe he is who he says he is? I'm pretty sure he is, but we'll definitely have an answer after your test for him, father. You may go now, he stated while leaving his throne room to prepare his test for the man. With Naruto. In the royal gardens, Naruto sat in a lotus position on top of the water of a nearby pond. His eyes were closed in concentration while his breathing was even and calm. He focused on his mindscape and reappeared in the populated streets of Yuzu. Seeing the smiling faces of the people he left behind made him clench his fists and shed a lone tear. You can't keep doing this to yourself, Kit, the Kyubi said as the visage of the peaceful village was replaced with the Yuzu ruins. It isn't healthy to dwell on the past so much. I know, but I can't help but think back on those peaceful times. Back then, all seemed right with the world and I was happy. For the first time in so long, I was happy. Naruto turned his attention to the fox lying down behind him, and saw it release a sigh. Kit, you know those times are over. It's been over 5,000 years since you've seen the people of Yuzu. Think about it though. Would the people who followed you, adored you, and stood by you want to see you dishonor their memory by dwelling on what once was? No, they wouldn't. They'd want me to press forward and live for them, just like Jiraiya-sensei. The blonde then sighed and gazed towards the rising sun in the horizon. Let the dawning sun act like the will of my people urging me to move on, he stated before fading away from the mindscape. Kyuubi turned its gaze to the dawning horizon and smirked. You would all be proud of your Yuzukage. He'll get through this, it stated as the ghostly silhouettes of the villagers appeared in the sunlight. With smiles of encouragement and hope, they faded away to the heavens above. Naruto opened his eyes to the sight of my reading a book while Tai Li was staring at him. Zuko and Azula were nowhere to be seen. Probably doing trivial royalty errands. He then turned his gaze to Tai Li, who had a curious glance on her face. Is there something you need? I was just wondering how you're sitting on top of the water. Are you using waterbending to have the water beneath you stay solid? Naruto raised a brow in confusion. What is waterbending? Tai Li looked shocked while my side and closed her book. Calm down, Tai Li. Naruto is from the past, remember? I thought he was kidding. She retorted incredulously before returning her gaze to him. Are you really from the past? Naruto closed his eyes and sighed while running a hand through his hair, letting the two girls see that his right eye had a scar going down it from his brow to his cheek. Yes, I was born during the age of chaos. I was able to seal myself away before my found me in that cavern on Ember Island and remove the seal. Tai Li's eyes widened before she began doing a sort of happy jig. Yes. I was right about there being a strange cave on the island. She cheered while Naruto and my sweat dropped. Well, you seem to be taking this news well. You don't doubt my claim? Naruto asked the happy teen. She shook her head with a bright smile. Nope. I know you're telling the truth. And how would you know this? I can tell when someone is lying to me, no problem. And you've been nothing but completely honest the whole time you've been here. Besides, your aura is bright and vibrant while also being strong and powerful. My sighed and muttered, there she goes with her troublesome aura reading again. So, you're an empath? Asked Naruto. I guess you could say that. I mean, I was always able to tell when someone was happy or upset. But it's hard to read some people. I mean, even with you I can barely read you. All I can tell is that whatever you've said was sincere and honest. Tai Li explained to him. That's pretty impressive. A natural empath at such a young age. This generation is full of promise, however, promise also comes with problems, commented the blonde to himself. The girls were about to ask what he meant by that before they were interrupted by the arrival of a slightly elderly man in Royal Fire Nation clothing. He had an aura of calmness that both Naruto and Tai Li felt, but Naruto was also able to feel the incredible power this man held back. This man is definitely not someone to underestimate. The man smiled to them and greeted, "Good afternoon, girls. I hope you're having a pleasant day." "Of course, Lord Iroh." Tai Li replied while returning the smile. "I'll admit that today's been interesting," I commented. "I'm glad," stated the newly named Iroh before meeting Naruto's gaze. Not many knew of this, but Iroh had once ventured into the spirit world years ago. During his time there, he saw visions of a young man with blonde hair battling enemies of incredible strength with the help of his friends and loved ones. The man presented himself as strong, honorable, and full of life. Based on his memories of the visions, Iroh was able to recognize the man in front of him, and he gave a bow of respect. "It is an honor to meet a man of your caliber, Lord Uzumaki." Naruto was surprised that the man knew his identity without him introducing himself. But then again, Loan Li knew who he was right away back on the ship, so he shouldn't be surprised. "Please, don't bow to me. My title as hero is terribly misplaced." "I don't think so, my good man." Your actions back then saved the world from a fate that many would feel is worse than